The Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast is dedicated to all things Horus Heresy. This podcast delves into the grimdark universe where Primarchs clash, legions rise, and loyalties fracture faster than a Land Raider's track. But it's not just about the lore of the Horus Heresy. The Accountabilibuddies also explore the gaming side of things, from painting and modeling tips to product reviews and ideas to help you in your hobby. So, whether you're a seasoned Forge World veteran or a fresh-faced scout, this podcast is your Vox channel to the galaxy. Expect discussions on lore, modeling, gaming, and maybe even the shenanigans that your hosts somehow seem to find their way into. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there are only two things you can count on: heresy and your trusty Accountabilibuddies.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 89th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. My name is John, and this week I'm joined by...
Duncan.
Jack.
Jamie.
And we're glad to have y'all with us this week. Just the four of us this time, so it's going to be a nice, tight show. That was a joke. And so, just before we go into hobby progress, let's take a moment to stop for our sponsors.
Do you love resin bases? Then go to our sponsor, Elric Hobbies, for all of your basing and basing accessory needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a discount. Legendary Monument Hobbies. Monument Hobbies is a one-stop shop for all of your painting needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a 5% discount on your purchase. Pop Goes the Monkey. Find maker of third-party accessory bits of arms, legs, backpacks, and more, where you can get 10% off your first order over $125 with code HERESYABB at checkout.
And thank you, our patrons.
Yep, and thanks to our patrons.
Yep.
So, let's kick off with the news, guys. What
Oof.
amazing Heresy GW stuff have we got this week?
Was the Mechanicum book this week?
Bueller?
Joy Toy, baby. At least they're carrying the mantle.
Yeah,
Hold on.
so that was... Well,
That's
we've
not
got
the
a
only
couple.
thing.
Didn't
Yeah,
the
we've got a
Mechanicum
couple
book-
things, and I've been dropping them in our chat. So the first thing, yeah, there's really nothing coming technically from CW this week. The pre-order article is all about the Necromunda release, which, technically we can steal all those Zone Mortalis parts, and I will probably buy a couple sets of that Broken Terrain when it drops next week. From unofficial CW's, Starforged has come out with a set of Total War Warhammer Dragon Rings, and so these are from the Cathay line. It's two of the Emperor's children's, the Dragon Emperor's dragon children. They're two dragon rings that can sync up. But they also came out with a set of Astartes chapter hats, and so they have all of the original legions, the Inquisition, Sororitas, Custodes, Deathwatch, and Grey Knights, and Mechanicum, as well as Black Templar and a few others on the Starforge site. They're kind of neat looking hats. They're like a faux leather look to them, and there's like a splotch across it. From Joy Toy, the floodgates have opened for Thousand Suns.
Yep.
Magnus the Red is freaking gigantic. He's about the size of a warhound.
He definitely has not skipped the HGH and protein shakes.
Oh no,
Yeah,
he's been shooting up.
He's been
steroids
hanging out
and
with Barry
stuff.
Bonds for sure. So
Yeah.
The top of his head is 8.7 inches, and then you have another what looks to be almost an inch or two of horns, as well as the Kopesh and magic flourishes that he has that are coming out as well. And you've also got Ahriman, and then I forget the name of the other guy that
Amen.
looks like Ben King. What was it?
amen.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
yeah, Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
And then the Terminator Praetor are also coming out this week, or pre-ordering this week. And then on the only GW could come up with something like this, Hammer 40K Space Marine 2 controllers. So Space Marine 2 is obviously coming this September, and to coincide with that launch, what they've done is they've taken some PS5 and Xbox controllers and given them a quick
Hydro dip.
hydro dip, Yep, do a Space Marine logo and a Ultramarine looking angrily toward the front.
Hold on. Tell them the price. I mean, like
normal controllers are $70-$80.
The Elites are usually like 130 to 150-ish, which are like the really high-end ones.
Yeah, those are the ones you can swap out the buttons, you can change the tension and the triggers, things like that. These look to be normal controllers. They don't say that they're Elite. They don't show you any removable parts. And they are $244 a piece. That is nearly 3x what a normal controller costs.
You can almost get a Xbox Series S for that. Like the actual system that comes with a joystick.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
And from discussions I've had with John, like GW is the only place that's going to have those.
Yeah, I've searched Amazon and a few other retailers that usually get some of the
like
type of stuff in.
GameStop would normally have that, or no.
Yeah, and sometimes some of these things will be exclusive to certain countries. So Metal Gear Solid Delta pre-orders came up, so they had a special edition that was exclusive to England versus a special edition that was exclusive to the US. So I was like, oh, maybe these are exclusive to the UK. That's why they're so expensive. Nope, these are exclusive just to WarhammerMerch.com. And they're 125 British pounds if you buy them from the UK, which is going to be a lot cheaper than 244 US. If you can find a friend in the UK to order them for you, but still way more expensive than a normal controller.
And I think they are literally just the normal controllers that are hydro-dip. They're not like the Elites. So
yeah.
I mean, the game's looking awesome. I will say that. It's already gone gold, which if you don't know video game industry, that means it's going to the printer press to actually get stamped on the disc, which if you actually have a disc drive, that's a good thing. But
yeah, I will always keep physical media because sometimes it just craps out.
Yep.
So I'm happy. I'm actually kind of one thing I do like about buying the edition I got was that I'm getting the statue and I'm getting the disc, at least for this one. Because some collector's editions recently for other games have not had discs.
Right. You literally you'll open up the steel case and it'll be a slip of paper in it. So.
Yeah. Also, the next set of McFarlane toys has been announced. That's going to be a Cadian Trooper, a slightly more up-armored Cadian Trooper. It's kind of close to a Casterkin, but not quite there. And then a Space Marine, I think they're called Eliminators. It's the new Reaver Scout with the sniper rifle.
Yep.
And those are kind of coming both painted and unpainted. The biggest difference is the Space Marine comes with a different head depending on if you get painted or unpainted. And then the Guardsman, the painted one comes with a plasma gun, the unpainted a plasma gun and a rebreather. The unpainted one comes with a grenade launcher and just goggles along with his helmet. So these look close to the same detail as the ones that came out with Dark Tide. So I was going to do a group of Dark Tide minis for all my friends that were playing at the time with all the pre-painted ones. So that way we could all have our kind of representations of the guys that we were playing in game. But I kind of fell off Dark Tide when Helldivers came out, so that never went anywhere.
I dig that.
But really, that's kind of where we are right now. We're still waiting for official announcement of when the Schism book is going to get announced. We saw the previews for that a couple weeks ago, but
we haven't even seen the
Was that a couple weeks ago that was announced, or was that announced last week?
Was that last week?
I thought it was before July. I thought it was the week before July 4th, so it would have been.
No, I'm pretty sure it was announced on the 8th, which would be after we recorded. It was It was the Monday after we recorded last episode.
Oh yeah.
So this is all brand new information.
Yep. All right. So the Schism book is going to be the campaigns on the Martian Civil War. There's a couple of things that were dropped in the article. The first thing is that they're going to have a bunch of new high techno arcana. So if you haven't played Mechanicum, high techno arcana is the thing that allows you to kind of rearrange your force organization chart or take certain things more in certain areas, or certain other things become line. Obviously, the one that most people think of is the one that allows you to take the robe guys that have plasma fusils or grav guns as troops instead of elites, and then they can't score unless they're within 6 inches of the Thanatar that's got a last cannon on his shoulder. But the one they just specifically mentioned here is called Scion of Tharum. And Duncan ought to recognize that name. So
I do.
In this one, the warlord that has this trait may select blood slaughterers as troops and/or fast attack choices. Any of them that are taken as compulsory troops gain line, and you get a different reaction, an additional reaction during their opponent's movement phase, as long as the warlord's still alive. So for me, what was that? Oh, during the end of fifth or sixth edition, when they were doing a lot of allies and things like that, blood slaughterers had just kind of come out and were really cool. And I was thinking about building a blood slaughter force of Mechanicum, and so I bought some Terminator toys to use for that. And I'm thinking about trying to dust that back off when I finish some of these other projects. I know I keep saying these projects every time something else comes up that's new and shiny, but that's the fun of hobby ADD.
Yep, very much so.
And then the one that everyone doesn't really like, but I think it's not going to be as bad as most people think. It specifically mentions there's a new campaign stratagem that allows you to take any amount of points you want for a Lord of War Black Titan. Now, it specifically mentions that this is a campaign stratagem, and as we went through on the episodes where we talked about the Chthonian book and the other book, that campaign stratagems are those things that allow you to kind of play with the FOC or play with the length of the game. You know, at the beginning of the campaign, you get all these basically stratagem points that allow you to go through and say, hey, this game I want to burn these things and I can't use them again until the end of the campaign. And we kind of talked about that'd be cool in a event scenario where you would go through and dole them out each round depending on who might need what thing. So I don't think that this is going to be I can take my warlord to a friendly game type of thing, but I could see where some people might try to pull. Oh, it says it in this book, you know, like in 1.0 where we had the displacer field and all the other relics that were never technically supposed to be used, but some people still try to use them.
Yeah, I remember those, unfortunately. I tried using one once, and I saw other people try using them and try arguing things with, like, the nanite gun or blaster was a pistol and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Is that all we have in the news?
Yeah, that's really it. We got kind of slim pickings this week. Age of Sigmar dropped this week for official release. And then Necromunda's got the Gene Stealer stuff coming out. There was a preview article that has a really cool Magos biologist that would be pretty cool for making Heretech Mechanicum coming up.
Is that the guy who had his hand on top of a Gene Stealer or something?
Yeah, and some of his mechadendrites are fleshy.
Yeah, I saw that guy. He,
Yeah, he looks creepy as hell. He would make a really good.
Yes, it does. If you could just do like a head swap on that thing, swap for like a demon of some kind. Yeah, that thing would be great for a heretic army.
Yeah.
That all those Gene Stealers just look weird, like really weird.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of them where they're like low to the ground and they look like some of the early drawings of chupacabras and stuff like that. Like they look really creepy.
They absolutely do. But you know, it kind of gives a nice bit of like difference between it and the other style for Necrons and things. So, well, not Necrons, but Gene Stealers and Tyranids. So it's kind of a nice break, and it kind of looks more like back to the roots of the old art, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and then Spires are also coming out, and then some of the longer range Van Star stuff as well. So if you're into Necromunda, there's some definitely cool stuff coming out next week, along with some of the Dwarf re-releases, including a decal sheet for Shields.
I'm just a little disappointed with that. I'm just disappointed with that new set, though, because it really doesn't come with any terrain. It's like a cardboard tabletop and then like a couple doors, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious if that's a fold-out tabletop or if it's tiles. If it's tiles, it's going to have more modularity, and you can use it with some of the existing Necromunda tiles to make cheap ZM boards.
Yeah.
So if you're running an event, you can throw down 3 of these cardboard tiles. And then the other problem with the cardboard tiles is if they don't keep making them, they go up insane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
with the Bad Zone 8, I think it was called. That set is now like $140 on eBay for 8 cardboard tiles. Like,
Yep.
come on, guys.
Interesting
But
stuff.
I'm using those as ways to try to design the ways I want to build my Necromunda tiles. Then you've got the Hive data stat clusters and the Ruinseum box. There's a couple of NPC characters and then a map that's coming out for Necromunda.
Yeah.
So stuff that we can definitely steal and use in other places.
Which is always what we always try to do anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Repurposing whatever we can for whatever we want it to be. Half the fun.
Yeah, that's what we've got this coming week.
Yeah, we bring up what we have all worked on hobby-wise this week. I know it's going to be a big list.
Yeah, we kind of jumped straight into news because we all realized we hadn't done a lot. I've personally been doing some house reorganization and swapped out a couple rugs. And then during our Hobby Wednesday night, I made some storage boxes. Randomly decided to stop by a Hobby Lobby, and they had finally restocked the stackable boxes that I use for sorting all my finished Marines and in-progress Marines. I hadn't seen any in almost a year, so I was kind of getting scared that they'd gone away and I'd have to start ordering from Amazon, which is a lot more expensive. And I picked up 4 2-packs of those. And then when I got home, I had some of the magnetic sheeting left over, so made up a quick template. I couldn't find my other one and cut those up and got those assembled during our Hobby Wednesday. And that's really all I've got done this week. I cleaned back off my spray booth so I can start trying to put some of the undercolors on some of the Space Marines that I've been working on. And then I found my hole punches so I can start punching out stuff to put on top of the Hydra symbols to put Cobra decals on for the tanks that I'm working on.
Quick question, John. How's the new water flow paint hood working? Is it still doing good, or?
Yeah, I really like it. I think that you've got to keep an eye on the levels of water.
Yep.
And so if you've got minimum fill, it's not going to fully create the curtain of water that you're looking for. And if it's not fully across the viscosity, I think it's called the viscosity of water, that makes it kind of adhere and you can easily like kind of smear it as it's running. If it's only on minimum fill, you end up getting a lot more spills because what happens is it tries to bunch up on the edges and it tries to go over. If it's above minimum, like halfway up from minimum into full, it's a lot easier. And if it's on full, then it's doing its job. So as long as what I did was I went over and marked on the side of the thing with a fat Sharpie because you could barely see where the sculpted on lines are on the side of the clear plastic water dish. I just went over and just drew on with Sharpie and wrote min and max on there so I know where I'm at. Now I know exactly what I need to do before I even fire it up. Instead of having to wait to wonder if I'm going to make a mess. Other than that, it's been amazing. I think it loses about, I want to say 2 or 3. I use an old Big Gulp cup to refill it because you kind of have to take the whole thing apart, or you could pour it down the front of the curtain to refill it. And so that's what I do is I just fill that Big Gulp cup and I pour it down the curtain, and it just goes right in there, so I don't have to worry about wiping it off my desk. So once you've got the system down, I think it's a lot nicer for the amount of airbrushing that I do and the amount of airbrushing that most Heresy guys are probably going to do. I don't think it'd be a bad investment.
Okay. Well, I was wondering how it was holding up. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Anything else, or are you gonna pass it on to who's next?
Yeah, I think that's it for me. I'll go on to you, Duncan. Why don't you go?
Well, I actually have gotten a lot of hobby stuff done this past week. Other than being around for the hobby hangout that we did this past Wednesday, I talked about stuff with a secret project with one of our listeners, or for a secret project with one of our listeners. I gave a couple other listeners advice about blending, shading, and airbrushing. And I have almost gotten all the finishing touches done on my Praetor/Champion. I've been slacking on time after work to do other stuff around the house and help friends do other things as well. So I haven't done a lot of hobby stuff, truthfully. A lot of passing on tidbits of information and knowledge, but it's been good. I do have another 10 of the World Leader Rampagers built. Mostly legs and torso so far at this point, but it's another start. So there we go on that, and that's really all I got done. So Jamie, I know this has been a very productive work for you, or work week for you. So why don't you tell us what you've done, sir?
So, I've just got a lot going on, and I really haven't had a tremendous amount of time. So what I have done is my battle foam finally came in, my huge order of battle foam that I put in. And all I can say to people is that when you're ordering battle foam, make sure you're not drunk, because I got a lot more than I needed, needless to say. And I easily can fill a 15-20 with the amount of foam, but then I have probably another stack that will fill another 15-20 of foam.
Yay.
And I mean, I because I got I got in the VIP or whatever. Battle Foam's not really one of our sponsors, so
no, but they're one we all use pretty much exclusively.
Right. So I was able to stack my VIP with one of the other big holiday discounts that they had, and I ended up saving like a third plus free shipping of what it would have normally cost. So now I'm kind of seeing what I need to do to either fill it out or consolidate so that make sure that everything I have in there is playable, like a playable force of it. Well, it's easily over 3,000, but like up to probably maybe like 4,000, 4,500 points. So that I'm actually having to rebuild jet bikes right now because I dropped several of them trying to put them in the battle foam, and they're the old resin ones. So they kind of just like exploded into parts. And I was lucky enough to find all the parts. And so I've got them back together, but because of the way they exploded, I'm having to retouch the paint on them. So a little perturbed at myself, but it is what it is. And that's kind of it. I've got a couple other little small projects that I'm working on, which we may. I don't know if we're going to talk about it tonight, but coming up, I've got to start on a bigger project that y'all probably know what it is. So, and I guess the only person we got left is Jack, right?
That sounds about right.
So what's our main topic of this week, guys?
So last week we talked about how to our ideas for customizing our own characters out of the lore. So in kind of keeping with that, we're talking about customizations that people can make to their forces. We're again primarily focusing on the legions on this one. And tonight we're pretty much going to talk about the traitor legions, but it's making a loyalist force out of a traitor legion. Your choice of traitor legion, your choice of what you would do to your legion and how you would do it. But how would you represent one of the standard traitor legions, the loyalists from that legion, and how they themselves change their war gear, change their appearance, if they did so in your mind, and what you would do to represent that force as a whole. I will go ahead and start as long as no one has an objection. Yep, cool.
Right, go ahead. I'll go second.
All right, cool. So what I did was years ago when I first started getting into the Heresy, I kind of fell in love with the character Kervalen. He's not talked about a lot in the lore, but he's talked about in of the Black Book. I think it was book 3. And he and his batch of Iron Warriors popped out of the warp at I think it was Paramore 5, and we're basically recruiting forces, getting supplies, getting everything they needed, and then got the invasion of Paramore happened around them, with the Alpha Legion coming in and attacking Paramore. And Kervalen did not know about this, did not know about the Heresy, and literally just went like, no, I'm not doing this. And was a loyalist, and his entire 77th Grand Battalion was a bunch of loyalists. And so what I did to create them being different was, since they were primarily an under supplied force, I went with having almost entirely Mark II and Mark III armor. I didn't do anything Mark IV or above. I went with only Cataphractii armor on my Terminators, and I took every single shoulder pad that was the Iron Warrior shoulder pad, and I flipped them. I didn't put anyone on the actual regular shoulder pad for them. I flipped them and reversed it, kind of like doing a thing of they reversed their colors, which was a big thing in European, specifically English, um, Civil War era. They would turn their colors to show that they had joined the opposite side, things like that. So I kind of imitated that. I also selected unique heads. I got mine from Max Mini, and I went with all of my troops had the same head. All of my sergeants had a different head, and my officers had a third head. And I put a lot of weathering on everybody, a lot of battle damage on everybody, and I went with no real bling, as it were. Everyone was literally just beaten, battered, and undersupplied, and that was how I represented having an entire force of loyalist Iron Warriors who had gone through the hell before the heresy began, who went through hell at their mention at Paramore 5 during the invasion, and only a few of them actually escaped from Paramore 5. So that's how I did it. I represented it by, or the way I would represent it in the modern 2.0 heresy is I wouldn't take any of the big robots. I would not take a single iron circle. I'm kind of thinking that I wouldn't take a lot of tactical support troops. If I were going to represent a 3K list, I would limit myself on vehicles because at that point they were ground down. I would limit myself on Terminator armor because it wasn't really all that much with them. I would likely limit myself to 1 or 2 units of Cataphractii in total, and I would focus primarily on the veteran squads and tactical squads, and I'd focus a lot onto a couple of heavy support squads, and that would truly be all I would really focus at. I'd take Keir Valen as a Praetor, which I already have modeled up off the original Praetor model that GW put out in the 2-pack, and that's it. I would just try to reverse the Legion iconography on them, where the skull's on a different shoulder, or put it on a different background, or kind of like my idea for a Night Lord's one, crack the actual skulls to show that they've been defaced, which would be another possibility way of I would do it. But it's simple, it's quick, it's to the point, and it shows that they're not part of the actual Traitor Legions, and they consider themselves to be loyalists. And that's it. Simple, to the point, and it works. John?
Yeah, so mine was an early project that I was actually going to do for my first Heresy army. I kind of mentioned Barthus and Eric last time, and as one of the inspiration for that, I really liked it. It was funny. It's almost a throwaway line in the first Heretic book by Aaron Dembski Bowden. Post Monarchia, the Word Bearers had the highest compliance ratio of any legion for that 5 years. And the reason for that was they went down, they kicked ass, they did their job, they burned shit down, forced compliance on everything they came across, and then moved on. Didn't take time to rearm, didn't take time to reload, didn't take time to patch holes, fill things. That was going to be my idea for my first army. It was going to be the loyalist word bearers from that time period, because they were just going around trying to figure out who they were and burning everything as they went along. Obviously, I came back around to doing my Ultramarines, and as I'd already had those in 40K, and then just stick with those. But that was really kind of my first idea, and to go around with that, I had a lot of rhinos that were like swapped certain doors, so they were just quick as possible. You know, what you would do is you would maybe paint the replaceable panels as bear ceramite, that kind of Grey Knight look to maybe 1 or 2 doors on every rhino. And then, kind of like you described with your Iron Warriors, do a lot of like sandbags and quick emplacements and kind of taking a lot of examples from a lot of military World War II modeling and late war stuff, where you've got a lot of trees fell down and just stuck on as improvised armor. You've got sandbags on top of tanks where you're going to use the cupola a couple times. You don't want to get shot. And you've got, just busted up armor. And so what I'd done to kind of work towards that is I had cast a lot of Mark 2, 3, and 4, and 5 parts. And I was just going to kind of sprinkle them in there. 5 was technically just a placeholder. What I'd done is I'd saved down all of the bonding studs on a lot of the stuff and was just using it as, whenever one of my parts blows off, I'll just get a new arm. Basically was the mentality for a lot of these guys. So as I thought, it was just move on as fast as we can. If something breaks, just order a new one, slap it on there, and we just keep going. And so that was kind of my idea for my starter army for word bearers. Now, being loyalist word bearers, technically you can't take things like Ashen Circle and Marigal and things like that. I would probably still take Ashen Circle and Lift because that was their, turn and burn unit. It was the thing that went out there and found those libraries and burned them to the ground. So I think that would still be a good unit to use. I don't see them as having a lot of like quick replaceable things like drop pods, or you maybe could still have a couple of units like Assault Marines or jet bikes, but not a lot of them. So you would really limit yourself to being, in my opinion, a bunch of tank mounted guys. Whenever the tank breaks, you just take out what parts you need, scrap these 2 tanks to build one good one, and we move on. So that was kind of my idea for the quote unquote loyalist traitor, right?
It's actually kind of an interesting idea of doing the World War II style, and the Russians and the Germans and the Americans all throwing the logs on the tanks and that kind of stuff. That's actually kind of neat to sit
They're
there
still
and,
doing it.
yeah, you're not wrong. But it's kind of neat
Coke
to actually
cages.
think about modeling that onto Heresy vehicles. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and I saw it as, if you think about what Detroit was like during World War II, it was just how many Shermans can we kick out in a day?
Yeah.
It was really, and the same thing. I'll shout out a YouTuber, Laser Pig, was doing a review of like how T-34s came out of the factory, and they're like, oh yeah, by the end of the war they were kicking out like 17 a day. That was because they didn't have seats or reflective mirrors, or they would just kept leaving off parts that weren't that important. So you could just, if some of your tanks would have running boards, but maybe not the other 6. Stuff that's not that important, stuff that's just nice to have, you wouldn't put it on. Don't care. Move on. Make new tank.
It fits, and for inside the Heresy, during the Heresy, the height of the Heresy, the height of the Civil War, it would really make sense for that to be done.
Yeah, I could see it not just being that one part that I liked, pre-Heresy, but I could see it being like, if you wanted to do Shattered Legions that way, or something like that, where you
that
or
was
Black Shields, where you're painting them all different colors, and where they're
that's
picking up
exactly
armor
what
off
I
the
was
battlefield.
thinking. Doing all kinds of patchwork, yeah, that definitely sounds interesting. All right, who's next?
I guess me. I kind of got the assignment late, but with a lot of the other legions there were some groups that actually did not follow along with the rest of the heretics. And one that came to mind with me was there was a lot of, it seemed like there was a decent amount of Thousand Sons that either were like not there when all that transpired on Prospero, or that just chose not to be with them. And I've always kind of, there's always the joke that, or not the joke, but the rumor that was it the Blood Ravens from Dawn of War?
Yeah.
Are the Loyalist Thousand Sons, because they have a questionable origins. Let's just put it that way. I mean, it's highly indicated, but there are other options. But like, if you wanted to go that way, you could. And then another thought that I had was like, with Night Lords, you have like super chaos Night Lords like you would in like modern, 42K and modern 40K, and then you have just normal regular horrible Night Lords that you would normally see in 30K. But then you don't really hear a whole lot about like the Terran Night Lords, because most of the Night Lords that you actually know and hear about, they're all from the Stromo. So thought about doing like a Night Lord army that was like the Terrans that didn't follow suit with with the rest of the armies and didn't like the way it was going, and they basically would end up being almost kind of like Black Shield or very ragtag in what they had access to. And kind of like what you were saying, Duncan, with like either like cracked skulls or like desecrating like the Night Wings on their sigils and stuff like that.
If you're going to do that, you'd also probably want to. I wouldn't paint the hands red, but I would paint them a different color to represent that they had renounced
Right.
Conrad. So that would be something also to kind of play with the idea for.
Maybe like silver or something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
I'd also probably take off. I mean, okay, I'm not going to say that I would take off if I was doing the Night Lords that way, but I would take off all the actual terror or horror imagery from them.
Right.
Even though they're loyal traitors, they're still not good guys.
Well, they never from the start were designed. They were designed to be shock and awe terror squads. That's what they were from the start.
I'd probably do less bat wings, but still keep a lot of the lightning bolt iconography and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I think I would do the same. I'd keep a lot of the lightning bolts, and I'd probably shatter the skulls, or like you said, shatter the bat wings, or maybe even just remove the bat wings as a whole and leave like the vampiric skull. Leave that there. I don't know. It's definitely an interesting idea.
And like, I don't know, I kind of was toying with maybe because they're so limited in what they had, kind of like what John was saying. Maybe not necessarily tanks though, but like kind of, I always kind of dug Doom Rider, but like all bikes or something like that they could hit and run real quick and get in and out of stuff, so that they had less of an opportunity to get, stuck in a really drawn out fight. So, but not like drop pods that were disposable, because they had limited access to what they had. So rhinos, I'm not going to say white scars, but like bikes, rhinos, like demolishers, that kind of stuff that's mobile to keep them on the move.
Okay, that's kind of interesting of a way of doing it. Jack? How about you? Sorry, Jamie, are you actually done?
Oh, no, the other joke was like you could do Dark Angels because, you have to actually find the loyal ones, but
but
or the Alpha Legion.
I mean, yeah, the Alpha Legion really does swing itself well for that. But if I was going to do Alpha Legion, I'd probably do, and I know I've referenced this before, that army where it's whoever. It was Imperial Fist Breachers that were painted over top of Alpha Legion colors.
Oh, no.
And then totally. I would probably do that.
Yeah, I totally would or do like squads that are like you have that like a leg or part of their armor's chipped away and it has the Alpha Legion colors underneath or something like that. But
yeah, I would likely do something like that. But it's kind of interesting. So many different ideas and options out there. Jack, what was it you said you had done for this idea?
Honestly, what I would do, would they just be factory standard templates? Like, I wouldn't do anything extra to denote them as being loyalists, because in my head, that's the default setting. It'd be the heretics that I would probably do more, not witchy poo, but witchy poo stuff.
Okay. So you would just take whatever Traitor Legion and just kind of do it like gray armor, kind of like the word bearers were originally.
In my head, in my head, not everybody knew what was going on from the beginning because of the fog of war.
That's fair.
So if I was doing it, it'd be somebody that going, "Oh, everything's fine. This communications suck as always. We don't know what's going on." And then followed quickly by the "Holy crap, Batman, what's going on?" Because apparently in this instance, I'm doing Night Lords.
Okay.
I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Like reverse, like instead of going heretics that are loyalists, we all know we have a friend that of the show that is going the opposite way, loyalists that are actually heretics.
Yeah.
And that would be Bama Blake with he's building a heretic ultramarine army.
Yes, he is. I hadn't mentioned how we would do that this one. I was kind of figuring we would contribute more to that for the next one. But have any of y'all thought about how you would do that for various loyalists to turn them traitors?
I would paint their heads red.
Represent that.
You would paint them what?
I would paint their heads red.
Oh my god! With your ultramarine. Jack. For anyone who hasn't heard Jack's laugh, there you go.
What I would do to that would be a lot of extra weathering. It'd probably be more on the basis than it would be on the actual models themselves to convey the story of, like, you know, turning evil-ish. So probably more bones, that type of thing. A lot more weathering on the units themselves, with some probably unique color schemes. This trying to make them look a little bit different. And I'd probably go into the Duncan side of that with depending on the legion, with the extra sandbags and wood and stuff like that, kind of like what I did with the Death Guard.
Like coat cages and sandbags, yeah.
Mm.
Or space armor or something like that. There's plenty of ideas that way. I mean, like, just the lore, the easy reach one would be the White Scars.
Yeah, that one would be an easy reach too.
I mean, that's like a really easy reach. Another easy reach would probably be the Dark Angels, which it's kind of funny. In the Heresy, you usually consider the Dark Angels that went to Caliban, which traditionally would be like have a lot more green on them. So 40K, the green Dark Angels are supposed to be the loyalist ones, and the ones in black with hoods are supposed to be the fallen. But in Heresy, it's kind of reversed. So, or is it? So, like a Dark Angel army, what I would probably do would be like have a lot more green on the green armor or green highlighted armor with, like, you'd start seeing a lot more capes and stuff like that.
Okay.
I would probably go a little bit different.
Oh yeah?
Do tell.
So we know that Korn tried to corrupt Dorn. And
Yes.
Dorn was so autistic that he just talked about concrete and war plans for 1,000 years, and it broke Korn.
Yeah, it did.
So the question is, why did Korn see Dorn as a weakness? Like, why did he think that would work? And so I think you would go, what if you did Traitor Fist, maybe some Black Templars too, that went to Korn? Because there's some reason that he thought that would work. Korn's not that dumb that he would just randomly like, oh, I'll pick that guy because he's there. But there's a reason Korn thought that might work.
Okay.
You could have Rampagers, like Rampager-like units with Imperial Fist Breachers. Maybe they've like thrown down their shields and they're just charging straight at the enemy as assault squads, things like that.
Okay. So I kind of had the same thought, but not with the fist. Mine was trying to figure out how I would show the Blood Angels being all wackadoo is evil and traitors. It's really hard to sit there and do that for the Blood Angels because they've already got the flaw. So my thought was to kind of lean into that and talk to people or base the lore around those who had fallen during the war, specifically probably likely at the Legion or the Siege of Terra, who had not been able to be recovered by their own brothers and who had kind of just struck out on their own, marauding around whoever, killing loyalists and traitors alike. So my idea was to take them and give them the standard Blood Angel stuff, gear wise, but then just to start ruining it. Like show that these are guys who don't have are mindless legionnaires who are mindlessly out for blood.
Wouldn't that kind of almost be like the death? Was it the death?
Death Company.
Death Company, yeah.
Yeah. So my idea is kind of like to play up to that, except played in the 30K style, not a 40K Death Company style. Yeah. So I would ruin their armor. I'd ruin it to where you couldn't even tell who they were very well. I'd leave the red armor. I'd do a very, very heavy spattering of blood all over them. And just kind of deeper crimson the armor. And then
kind of a little Night Lordy to me, or Korn.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea, is to lean into the Cornate part of it and the Night Lord part of it. Give them bone decorations. Give them
trophies and stuff.
Trophies that they've taken from whoever, be it loyalist or traitor. Give them weapons that aren't really normal chain axes or chain swords or what have you, but are like ruined bits of swords, ruined bits of whatever. Lean heavily into the undead line from Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer Old World.
That kind of sounds a lot like their pre-Sanguinius roots as well.
That is exactly kind of where I got part of the idea. With them being the Revenant Legion, it fits. And I would just kind of do conglomeration squads to where their guys don't have the same squad markings to represent that these are guys who have kind of come together in their rage and are marauding around. I wouldn't give them a lot of vehicles. I wouldn't give them any aerial support at all. And I would focus and lean so heavily into close combat that I would probably not give them a lot of fire support anywhere.
You lean into close combat?
No, I mean even more than I normally do.
What?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of hard to do with one of your armies.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand. I always lean hard into close combat, but that's kind of what I would do. It just show the difference between the protective noble blood angels and the feral, animalistic, murder everything guys that they could have become if they had actually fallen when Erebus tried to tempt them over for treachery. It's kind of just different. So that was my idea for the Blood Angels. Any listeners out there who want to chime in and send us an email or a message via Discord or Facebook for how they would do Loyalists out of the Traitor Legions or Traitors out of the Loyalist Legions, please let us know. We'd be very interested to hear what your thoughts are, to see some artwork or to see some modeling up that way, like Blake has been doing, and like our friend Chris Bergeron has been doing, where he's building, I think it's the Warhounds out of the World Eaters. So,
yeah, that's right. He is
interested in seeing a lot of stuff. Anybody else got ideas on what they would do at this point, or are we pretty much done here?
What about the one I don't think anybody's brought up is like the Space Wolves.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do for a Space Wolf army.
13th Company.
Them...
What'd you say?
13th Company.
So like
wolf.
Yeah.
Wolf with an extra wolf with an extra wolf.
Oh, so just play them as 40k wolves.
Yeah. But maybe with more bones.
Okay.
Everybody loves a good bone.
I mean, sure. That's fair.
I'm so tired.
I'm sorry, Jack. It sounds like you need a nap. Or maybe just go to bed on a decent time. Or not be traveling all week long.
Yeah. But anyway, what else we got? Shout outs.
ATC was this weekend. Sounds like everybody had a lot of fun.
Good.
Yep. Shout out down to Chris Pretty and Turkey and all them who apparently had to get together today, the 14th, down at Legacy in whatever city in Texas that's in. Looks like they had a lot of people show
Victoria.
Yeah, cool, Victoria. Sounds like they had a lot of fun. And I'm actually going to go ahead and throw a shout out in general just to 60 Turkeys in a Trench Coat, one of our listeners. Dude, you have done some seriously heavy work in improving your painting skills, your hobbying skills, and every time you post pictures in our chat, in our Discord, it just looks better and better. I'm proud of you, man. You've done a lot in a little amount of time, and I look forward to seeing how you progress in your hobby over the next couple of years, because it's going to be an interesting place to see.
And he's also really good at coming into every Wednesday night.
Yes, he is, and hanging out. I also want to give...
He's a sponge.
He is. I'm also going to give a shout out to Mike Spector, who's working on a secret project for us. And a shout out to all the regulars who show up, and the irregulars who show up for the Wednesday night hobby hangout in our Discord channel. It's been a blast hanging out with these guys, sitting there talking, swapping stories, trading hobbying tips with everybody. If you haven't had a chance to come in and join us on Wednesday nights, I highly recommend you do it. It's a lot of fun. I'm there most nights. John's there most nights.
You get more inside jokes that way.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of inside jokes, and you'll get a lot of really cool hobby ideas from a lot of really good hobbyists who are all sitting there working on their hobby together as a group. It's fun. You'll hear about new ideas, lore bits that you may never have encountered or heard of before, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Big shout out to Brian Oden for hosting that almost every week too.
Yes, I'm glad that Brian hangs out there with us pretty much every night.
Suzerain.
Yeah. I'm also going to throw one final shout out tonight over to Trevor, who's in here as Bat Fastard in the Discord. Brother, I'm proud of how well your stuff looks. It's your word bearers are definitely looking as evil as I thought they would, and the pictures you keep showing and all the work you keep putting out is phenomenal. So, kudos to you. Anyone else got a shout out or anything they want to throw out there?
Thanks to all the listeners for listening and sticking with us as long as they have.
Yeah.
We're almost to 100, and we're all wondering if we'd make it to 10.
Yep.
After this one, we're literally 11 away, which is insane. And God willing, the creek doesn't rise. That will be 11 weeks. That'd be September.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Jeez, 100 episodes. Wow.
In just
I hadn't
over
even thought we would actually
26 months.
Just over 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, as Jack and Jamie both pointed out, thank you everybody who's listened to us now, has listened to us in the past, will listen to us in the future. We do this for you all and for ourselves. I mean, we would still sit here and be recording this even if we only had 5 people listening, but we appreciate every listener out there. And we really appreciate the interactions we get to have with people at the various events we go to and in the community as a whole. It's the best hobby family I've ever had.
Yep, absolutely.
Y'all keep us going too. I mean, seeing what everybody else is doing and what events they're going to and stuff. That's what keeps a lot of us, in the hobby and focus as much as we can be with like all the crazy stuff going on in our lives. So
If it wasn't for this, I would have no clue what's going on anymore because I just don't have time.
yeah.
I mean, life gets busy. We all know that. We all have jobs, except Turkey, who doesn't have a job yet. But yeah, I mean, we're all busy. If we didn't do this, like Jack said, I really wouldn't have a clue what the heck I would be doing. Probably not focused on Heresy, and probably not as deep into the actual game as I am, to be honest, at this point. So, if we don't have anything else, gentlemen, listeners, I think it's time to call it a night. Oh, and just in time, Brian arrives as we're rolling it all up. Brian, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Just got done with work.
That's good. You showed up perfectly because we were getting ready to do the outro there. Did you do any of the homework on the idea of what you would do to build loyal traders?
I didn't do a lot of it, but I will tell you that the idea of a Dark Mechanicum force is very appealing because I like my big stompy robots.
Okay.
And I'm very curious to see what that next campaign book will bring us.
Yeah, that I think we're all in kind of that boat, waiting to see what goes on there. I'm hoping it's not just the Exemplary Battles book 2, as it were. And it includes everything we want it to.
I'd like to see some more other than Scoria. How about that?
True.
Yeah. I'll agree there too.
And for the sake of all the regular mech players, I hope it corrects some of the issues that are in the current mech book. There's some stuff in there that just plain doesn't work the way it's written.
I'll take your word on that. I haven't honestly got enough experience with the robots, as in 0 playing them and only a little playing against them.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there that's not great.
I did like the idea that they talked about for the new one, where you can now include like a larger Titan in like a 3K game. I think that would actually be kind of fun, having a 3K game where most of your opponent's points are tied up with a Titan, and your entire objective is kill that friggin' Titan.
So, like with me, that would be why I have in my battle foam cases at least 3 neutron blaster saber tanks. But that's just me.
No, makes sense.
Well, looking at the changes they did to all the Titan weapons, they, I think, more or less cut the number of shots on all the guns at least in half. So the Titans are not anywhere near as scary as they used to be.
Right. And don't they have, I may be crazy, but don't they also have to engage Titans first before they engage other stuff or something like that?
No.
I don't remember about that specifically, but they cannot make reactions against like anything other than Lords of War.
Gotcha.
Just like Knights are stuck with that as well.
That might have been what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Which does remind me, how's your Warhound coming along, Duncan?
It's coming along so well that it's sitting in a cardboard box right now.
Shame.
I know.
It's further along than my Warhound Titan.
Oop, see?
Or
yeah, I have not honestly done any work on it beyond what I'd already talked about a while back, which was taking it out of the box, dry fitting stuff, and figuring out that I need bolts and pins and etc. Yes, I know I need to work on it, and I hope to have that. I will have it done for Adepticon, because I'm taking it there, but I do not have it done or even close to touched yet. I've been focusing what little hobby time I've had lately on the world leaders. So that's about
Well,
that.
I can't say much. I haven't had time to work on hardly anything.
There we go. I mean, it's fair. We all get busy, as we have mentioned a couple times this cast tonight. Anyhow, listeners, or John, would you like to call us out or take us away tonight?
Absolutely. So this has been our 89th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies. Tonight, you've been joined by John,
Brian,
Duncan,
Jack?
And Jamie.
and always remember to stay accountable to your buddies, to your friends, and to your hobby. And we'll catch you next time.
There you go.
Like and subscribe, and see ya.